Good day, and thank you for joining Life is Mysterious. In today's installment, I actually have a very special installment today. It's titled The Number 54, and today we're going to be talking about grief and loss. And every time I sit down to write a story for Life is Mysterious, I always pray that God guide my words and give me the right direction to say the right thing and honor the subject matter. However, for today's story, I reached out to beyond my own prayers and asked others to pray for me and to help God guide my words. Because today I hold with me the story of grief and loss and the knowledge that we are so much more than this short life we live. On June 26th, 2019, parents, loved ones, family members, and friends lost Mitchell Evan Collier at the age of 25 years old. When we lose somebody this young, it leaves us grief-stricken and asking for questions. There are so many unfulfilled memories to be had and so many unanswered questions. So it's natural if we look for signs and symbols out there in the world to help us and to give us reassurance that our loved one is okay. And this could be a story about the looking, but it's not. Today's story is about the finding. You see, Mitchell loved the number 54. He had it tattooed on his body, and everything he did, everybody associated Mitchell with the number 54. Now, there's no surprise to why Mitchell loved the number 54. He wore it as his high school football jersey, and they won 2 back-to-back state championships in it. So it's pretty obvious why Mitchell loved the number 54. But what's not obvious is why that number follows the family around now after his passing. But before I get into that, I want to bring us to the day of the celebration of life, when the family was told over and over and over again of stories of things Mitchell did. And you know, it's typical that we want to remember our deceased with fond memories and thoughts and good cheer, but this went beyond that. People were coming up to the family telling them Mitchell paid their rent. They were about to be evicted. Mitchell paid their electric bill. It was about to be shut off. Mitchell checked in on a breast cancer patient over and over again, and she claims it's what got her through the treatments. One story after another of Mitchell helping others. Even as simple as calling his mother every day to check in on her. The beautiful thing about Mitchell and how Mitchell helped others is that Mitchell never advertised it. Nobody knew it was going on. The people that he paid the rent for didn't know that he paid the electric bill for somebody else, and so forth and so on. So Mitchell did all this just out of the goodness of his heart, and he never asked for any credit for it. So that, of course, left the family with some comfort. But then Terrell Rollins, his roommate and a teammate from high school when they won the back-to-back state championships, had just recently moved in together. And Terrell was not in town when Mitchell passed. So he had the unfortunate news to hear about Mitchell's passing when he was out of state all by himself. Well, you could imagine his grief. Not knowing how to contain it, he went for a walk. And nearby was a golf course, peaceful, tranquil golf course. And he took himself on a walk to try to sort through this grief he was feeling. When all of a sudden he sees somebody on a golf cart in the distance coming towards him. Truth be told, he said that he thought he was going to get kicked off the golf course. But instead, a gentleman pulled up next to him and said, Son, are you okay? And Terrell said, I'm just sitting here, getting myself together, contemplating my thoughts. And the gentleman replied with, I want you to know that everything's going to be all right. As the gentleman drove away in the golf cart, Terrell looked up, and the number 54 was on the golf cart. So it began. The number 54 started popping up everywhere. During the celebration of life, when people went out to get beverages, they got 54 cents back in change. When they went to pick up a food order, they were given the number 54 to wait on the food. When they were given directions on their GPS, it came up, turn on Collier Avenue, happens to be his last name, arrival time, 4:54 p.m. And then his grandmother, his cousins, and his aunt all got into the car after their final viewing of Seeing Mitchell, and when they turned on the car, it said 54 miles to go before you're out of gas. Now, these can all be coincidences, and maybe they were. So I started to do a little research, and I looked up what is the meaning of 54? Does 54 have any meaning in the Bible or any other religious text? And I was shocked to discover what I found out. The number 54 is the numerical equivalent to the word love. Love. I don't know if you remember your Bible verse, but God is love. And wherever there is love, there is God. So every time they were seeing 54, they were getting a reflection of Mitchell's love. Or at least that's what they might want to believe, right? As I'm writing this, I'm thinking to myself, am I the right person to write this story? I believe in this stuff. Obviously, I believe in life's mysteries. But am I really the right person to write this story? So I started to question myself. And again, I turned online. But before I actually did that, I had an inner voice tell me, ironically, Ella, you are 54 years old. Well, that's pretty coincidental. I'm 54 as I write this story about all the 54s popping up in the lives of the loved ones of Mitchell. But then I thought, oh, I'm stretching. That's a stretch. Am I really the right person to write this? Well, as I told you before, I had reached out to everybody that I knew and asked them to pray for the right words and for wisdom for me to share this story with everybody. Well, it didn't take me a second. I turned on my Facebook where I had asked for prayer requests, and right there in bold were 54 comments of encouragement. 54 comments of encouragement the second I checked. Well, quickly I took a picture, and quickly the number rose. But the moment I checked, it was 54. That gave me all the validation I needed. Too many signs, too many numbers. And here's what God told me. Here's what came to my heart. There's only two reasons the number 54 keeps popping up in everybody that loves Mitchell's life. And here's the two reasons. We either want to believe and want to see, and our desire to see something makes it happen. So we're looking for it, therefore we see it. That's the one thing. It's number one. Or number two is we are really getting reassurance from God and from Mitchell that Mitchell's okay. Now, let me tell you this. I'm not going to tell you which one I think it is. I'll let you decide. But I do have a question for you. If you believe that the reason we're seeing the number 54 is because we're looking for it and we see what we want to see, then I ask you this. If we can see what we want to see, and I can manifest the number 54 comments, and others can manifest 54 miles to go on the gas gauge, and so on and so on. If we can manifest that, if we can see what we want to see, then why aren't we seeing the good in people? Seems to me, whether or not God and Mitchell are telling us and giving us a message that he's okay, or we're being shown that we can see whatever we want to see, therefore we can see the good in people, we're getting a message from God either way. Join me next time. Today, life is mysterious.